The most important bit is that the medals have finally been revealed. We have the gold, the silver, and the bronze, of course. But just on your screens is a participation medal that is going to be awarded to every player and management that will be in England for the Rugby World Cup. That is 516 players that are taking part. One thing you'll notice on these medals is that they have the logo of the Rugby World Cup at the back, at the front, and then the trophy at the back, but then also all the 16 participating nations, including the 2025 Women's Rugby Africa Cup champions, South Africa, who will be taking part in this tournament. Of course, as the Scrum and as the continent of Africa, who will be supporting our champions, but we look to see how far they will go in this tournament, having played well in 2021 in New Zealand, in 2022 for the 2021 event in New Zealand. We hope to see even a better performance come the tournament on the weekend. England will be kicking off against USA in the opening match on Friday next week. Kachira Rugby Club have unveiled their new jersey, and this was last week at the Pombe Lounge in Chirinya. And one of the things that we'll notice is that it has a bit of color to it, green, gold, and black. And my oh my, what a jersey it is, moving from just a team that was wearing a donated kit from that was wearing off-the-shelf kit, but now it is just going to be a custom kit, and hopefully they will be able to launch it when the Eastern Region Sevens kick off later this week, or maybe they can keep it for when they play their first Premiership match next season, as Kachira are now a core side in the Premiership, joining Ginger Hippos or the Hippos and Walukuba as the teams from the Eastern Region. We now look at the Gulu Sevens, a beautiful tournament it was. I felt the rugby compensated too much for what was a bit of a subpar organization, but at the end of the day, there were two new champions on the series, and that was the Toyota Buffaloes in the men's competition and the Avengers in the women's competition. Toyota Buffaloes, of course, beating Walukuba Barbarians by just 5 points to nil, courtesy of a try from the captain, Fat Moses Watmon. And then the Avengers coming from behind against the Thunderbirds by 14 points to 10. What a match that was. I was so excited watching that game. Sandra Amoli Lona scores the first try from a solo effort. Then the Avengers respond through Juliet Nandaola and Maimuna Nasozi. But of course, the biggest talking point will be Maimuna Nasozi, who scored 2 clutch conversions to ensure that even when Comfort Anganyika responded with a try that looked to make it a fight to the end of the game, the Avengers still had that buffer in them and they were champions. Thunderbirds and the Barbarians losing their first games of the series from last weekend, but they still stay on top and they lead in that order, Avengers and the Toyota Buffaloes by 2 points. This weekend we take a bye on the series, and that is for the players to rest, but when we resume it will be in Entebbe at the Works Grounds in Entebbe, and that will be hosted by the Mongas, which has been known as the Entebbe Sevens tournament. But wow, what a tournament that was in Gulu. The players of the tournament, for the men, Liam Walker, and for the women, Maimuna Nasozi. Beautiful tournament the two had. Maimuna Nasozi in the final, Liam Walker in that semi-final against the Mongas. Should have been, yes, that was against the Mongas. When we look at more updates from Gulu, it was a bit of a sad return back to Kampala, as we had some of our colleagues that suffered an accident on their way back. And confirmation came in from the Uganda Rugby Union that good news, they were okay. None of our colleagues lost their lives, and that was the coach of the Walukuba Barbarians, also a coach of the Uganda Rugby Cranes, Coach Leonard Lubambula, with ex-com member Duncan Chilia and Rams head coach Jude Rakayanga. Then they also had our colleagues in the media, journalists Elijah Akena and Tony Kamau. As of the latest update that we had, they had been transferred to Mulago and were being assessed. Scans came out positive, everything was looking good, and we continue to pray and hope for their quick recovery. And now, of course, this is very interesting. We have, and I would like for us to note this very, very carefully, NBS Sport 2 will broadcast the first tour of the Irish Black Rocks College Rugby Football Club from 4 p.m. at Chadonal Rugby Club, and it's going to be this Saturday, For the second time in a row, we shall have rugby on NBS Sport 2, and what a privilege for us to have that channel. Please take note that NBS Sport 2 is only on Afro Mobile, and that's the only place where you can watch it from. So please download that app and ensure that you catch these games. Afro Mobile is also available if you're an MTN user with a streaming bundle where you can buy from as low as 10,000 rather. You can buy a bundle that gives you access to all the entertainment, all the sport, all the current affairs and politics right on your fingertips. The Irish Blackrocks College RFC arrived here in Uganda, and they touched down last night in the wee hours of the morning, and as we speak right now, they are going through their captain's run at Gulu Rugby Club. This Blackrocks RFC is a legendary club in Ireland that was founded in 1882 and has legendary alumni such as Rugby Player of the Year Brian O'Driscoll and current Ireland player Hugo Keenan. They returned to East Africa after 30 plus years. Last touring here in 1971 highlights their respect and connection to Uganda and East African rugby. Most importantly, this is the first Blackrocks tour since 2001. What a privilege for Uganda. The blend of veterans and emerging talent in Division 2 of Leinster promises a challenging and skilled opposition for the Ugandan squad. But the Ugandan squad, of course, are not sleeping. We have a mix of Rugby Cranes players who played in the Africa Cup just last month, and then those who were on the fringes of the squad, plus a few emerging talents that we shall have in there. There's a whole list of players that we had. The highlight, of course, is the captain, Michael Wokorach, who will be playing some beautiful rugby after a while on the sideline. This tour is not just about rugby. The Blackrocks will support meaningful social projects like the Spire School for the Blind, Hospice Africa, and the Irish Embassy's Nurture Africa's outreach programs. Emphasis will be on lasting legacy, cultural exchange, and community giving through sport, as described by the tour manager, John Colcliffe. At first, the All-Stars Assembly is a first in nearly a decade, mixing youth prospects with seasoned veterans and national team players. We have a number of them that, like I mentioned, Mike Wokorach and as the captain, Kevin McMott as the head coach. And in the shot, you will notice Collins Chimbo and Fahad Maido playing for the Rugby Cranes, but as well, you have Jeremiah Okello, Ethan Mugabe, who are the prospects that we have for the future. The tradition of East African rugby showcased by the All-Stars dates back to 1971 with only one Ugandan in the early East African select. It's now evolving into a true showcase of Ugandan rugby quality and culture. For the rugby fans that have been around for a while, you remember when the English counties visited Uganda and played games against the East African select side. And so this is another chance for us on the turn of the decade to carry on from there. And now I take a moment to talk some bit of technical rugby, and then also to show you a bit of what our local clubs have been working on in the segment that I like the most. Unfortunately, today I'll be doing it alone, but you can as well let me know what you think about what we've prepared for you in what we call the playbook. And so, from the Gulu Sevens that we had last weekend, there are a couple of things that we noticed, and one of those is what many will call the dummy line-out. And a line-out is when the ball has gone into touch and the players form a tunnel and the ball is thrown straight forward for the lifter to jump, for the jumper to jump, and the lifters carrying them up. However,